This is the Chasing the Tide saltwater segment on the Paddle and Fin Network. I'm your host, Dustin Nichols. Come along for the saltwater shenanigans. Hey everybody, welcome to the Chasing the Tide saltwater segment here on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. I'm already jumbling words here. I'm gonna do that with a name coming up in a second. Hey, I'm your host, Dustin Nichols, and tonight we have one of my Jackson Kayak teammates, John Deshauteurs, on board, and we want to welcome him tonight. What's up, man? How's it going?
What's going on, brother? How's it going?
It's going good, man. Got a little water time today. Caught a few fish this morning. Yeah. Just getting wound up for the night. Had some stuff going on with the family too, and now I'm gonna sit down with you and chat a little bit, talk some fishing. It sounds good.
What you got on some fish the other day? I had to accept the pill of defeat. We had about a 20-degree temperature drop and shut everything down. So I spent about 5 hours in the kayak catching a tan.
Oh man, that's how this morning it was a bite. I probably had like an hour window, and then it just shut down. The cloud cover went away. The bluebird sky set in. That pressure started rising fast, and that bite just shut down. I think I had like 2 more bites in that last hour I fished, and they were all there, small fish. So it was just like goes from it being on, and they're just like eating, and then all of a sudden, lockjaw. It was like done. It's like we don't want to have nothing to do with that. What you're throwing, no more.
Right. Oh, yeah. I know the fella.
Yeah, it was rough.
Oh yeah, I know the fella.
Yeah, nothing like that skunk, man. I don't like them.
That's when you get the sunset pictures knocked out.
Yeah. Hey, it can happen to anybody. I don't care what anyone says out there. All y'all listeners out there, that old white stripe skunk could get you. It's going to catch you one of these days. It's going to catch you one of these days.
I think the best thing that could help anglers out with their pride is just accepting that too, man. Yep. There's so many people that just, they can't accept defeat sometimes. I'm like, dude, it just kicked my tail. That's all there is to it.
Yep. I had a tournament, the first tournament of the year for one of our local trails. I was one short of a limit, and it eats me up when I can't get 5 pretty quick in the morning and then work to upgrade. It just eats me up, hits me hard, and makes me realize what I did wrong. And like I said, I've said it many times before that mental game is a big factor on the water.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So, well, you started fishing. How what got you into fishing when you were younger?
Watching my grandparents. Yeah, as far back as I can actually remember, man. I remember my grandparents picking me and my brothers up, taking us out to the what we call the old Back Bay Bridge, going saltwater fishing, and I'll never forget it, man. I remember my grandmother wheelchair bound, catching 2 fish at a time. My grandfather would tie a line for her. Oh yeah, and she would sit there, and I mean, in a wheelchair, would kick our tails. We out there. Several of us lined up out there fishing on those bridges, and she would be catching white trout 2 at a time. As far back as I can remember, I've got to figure out what she's doing. I mean, it always amazes me, and getting on up in age, watching these guys on the outdoor channel taking a rod and reel and a line and a piece of plastic and getting specific fish. Now, not just any fish, but targeted species to hit. Yeah. And I've got to figure that out, man. It's for some reason it's just drawing me to it. So I started fishing and grew up in a family of 5 brothers. It's 5 of us total, and then my mom and my dad. My dad was working. My mom stay-at-home mom. We were all homeschooled. So the days that I wanted to go fishing, if it wasn't a family affair, you ain't going fishing.
You ain't going fishing, yeah.
You ain't going.
That's right.
So I live vicariously through the magazines, man, through the TV channels, and finally got my own wheels under me at a later age in life. And the first thing I did was I started buying my rigs, and literally every day after work, my mom and dad didn't even have to worry about where I was at. Mm-hmm. There's only one person that they knew I would be with if I wasn't fishing, and that's my wife now.
Yeah.
This just just been every day for me, man, as far back as I can remember, just obsessed with fishing, just trying to figure out how these fish, how people can go out and say, I'm going trout fishing, I'm going red fishing, I'm going to flounder, I'm going crappie fishing. All right, how the heck all this water out here, you know, how in the world? And then, you know, I just started working at it and started just educating myself, and was big on YouTube for the longest. And like I said, I did a lot of reading, man, and it just, as far back as I can remember, it's just been my number one influencer.
Mm-hmm. See, back in the day when I was a kid, we didn't have YouTube to fall back on, and everybody putting everything on social media. We had the magazines. You had to wait for them articles to come out, or that Saturday morning that you just hoped they were going to a lake that was near your house, like Roland Martin or Jimmy Houston or Hank Parker or Lefty Cray, Spanish Fly, or whatever. They were, all them guys were fishing. Bill Dance, all of them. You know, I always enjoyed watching them on Saturday mornings. But, you know, I was lucky. I had a lot of, you know, little neighborhood ponds and golf courses around, and I could ride my bike to quite a few of them. So, man, I had that tackle box strapped up. I had them rods. I had a couple rod and reels. I'd be gone. And then if I wasn't home for the street lights come on, boy.
I can remember my neighbors, every time they would be pulling the boat in, I'd be sitting there at the fence looking like a doggone inmate, just staring out, looking, you know, watching. Then they started inviting me out, and I can remember some of my best memories, not influenced by today's, you know, negativity as far as egos or different things of that nature, but it was just innocent fishing, you know, the foundation of it for me. And sometimes I have to revert back to that because there's just so much out there going on today, man. I just have to remember why I'm doing it, why I fell in love with it, you know. Even though it's a job now, I have to remember why I fell in love with it at times, because it's a lot going on today.
Oh, yeah. I just posted a picture yesterday, a little throwback. I had a picture of me when I was like 14, and then another picture from the other day fishing. And I had this big old mullet looking Camaro cut, little dirt lip. And it's like, man, look at this junk, man. Look at this boy. And then and it just reminded me how much I loved it back then too, you know, and how much I was like, man, I wish I could go and be a pro bass fisherman and this and that. And then now look at all these opportunities we got this year on the kayak side of things, especially. It's like, holy cow, there's some pretty high caliber tournaments coming up, and I'm gonna get to fishing some of these things. So, man, it's like a dream come true to me almost. You know, it's like I'm pushing 50, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna get to go fish against some of these. Man, all these guys I look up to. I ain't been in the bass game as long as some of these other guys, but like, man, I'm about to go fish against some hammers.
I remember that was my first experience at ICAST. We weren't doing a tournament, but I remember growing up off the Outdoor Channel, watching all these guys off the Outdoor Channel, and I remember my first invite to ICAST, having to figure out what ICAST was, do my research, figure out what it was, got the invitation, showed up, and I was literally inside the arena with everybody. You know, everybody I grew up watching, save Jose LaHeavy, and he had just passed, you know. But yeah, I remember walking through and I was just starstruck. My jaw, I had rub burns from my jaw just being on the floor, not from all the tackle. I don't know if you've ever been at ICAST before, but not just literally all of the tackle from wall to wall for as far as you could see, but all the influencers. Everybody that had a pivotal, you know, that you can remember 2 years ago, 4 years ago, dude, 15 years ago. You know, I remember reading about this guy, and he's walking right next to me. I'll never forget it. It was, I can't remember how far back it was, but it was Gerald Swindle. And I'll never make this mistake again. I'll never forget it. I remember walking through a particular area at ICAST, and I saw G-Man come walking up. And I'm crazy about G-Man. G-Man and his G-Man, I can't remember what they call it, but he says some of the craziest stuff. It would be crazy to be able to meet G-Man. I scared that dude off. I was so doggone starstruck. He saw my face, and he saw my face when I saw him. I was like, oh my God, it's G-Man. And he looked at me, and he was kind of like, okay, this is one of these guys. I'm turning around and go the other way.
Oh, man.
And I was like, all right, man, they're humans just like I am, and I got to take it down a notch.
Take it down,
Oh, yeah. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting because we're walking through this last year we were over there, and my family's with me too. We kind of made a joint deal. We got to go Universal. My sister drove down from Georgia, and we hung out. And we're walking through the lobby going to eat breakfast, and then my daughter was like tugging. That's Jacob Wheeler, and my daughter knew this from watching YouTube with me. That's J-Dubs. That's J-Dubs. And she was like, what? I was like, dang. And he was on his phone. I was like, man, that's one I really wish I could have got a chance to talk to. But man, I got a chance to talk to a bunch of people. And I don't know if you saw, but we have that thing here called the Lone Star Throwdown where they have all the trails come together. We have a big tournament at the end of the year. In Texas, all the regions have their own little group, and we all meet up. But Dave Newman, he's on Jackson with us too. He had all of them guys. He had G-Man get on there and tell him, oh, East Texas going to win the throwdown. He had videos of like him and Ike and Nelly and like all of them. So I met Ike and Nelly. I met Brandon Polinick, B. Latimer. Latimer was a big influence to me with punching last year because I won a tournament like it. I saw matted hydrilla and sporadic hydrilla everywhere, and I said, I'm gonna start punching, and that's what I did. I put a 3/4 ounce weight, pegged it, creature bait, started punching. I upgraded 3 fish in the last 2 hours, and I won that tournament. And that's why I told Brian I wanted him to let him know, hey man, you're a big influence to me. You got my first win of the year. I was like, man, I was stoked. And he's like, dude, he's like real genuine too. So Mark MDJ too. Mark Downs Jr. was the same way. And then you had man, everywhere you look, there was somebody. I mean, everywhere you look, there was somebody there.
I remember meeting B-Lat. I think it was my second year at ICAST. I walked by the Bill Lewis with a couple of buddies of mine that were walking around the show, and they walked me by the Bill Lewis booth. And B-Lat looks at me. I looked at him. I didn't know who the heck he was. I mean, I've seen him, but I didn't know how big he was in fishing. Yeah. He gets up. He comes over. He shakes my hand. Same deal with Brandon Polinick. I think it was the fact that I didn't know who they were. Because I remember I was standing at the Buck Knives booth, and I walked up with a buddy of mine, and we were looking at some of the new knives that they were coming out with. And Polinick standing right there, and buddy walks up and says, hey, Brandon, how's it going? He's got his jersey on, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out who he was. And he introduces me. He's like, John, protege, and this is so he introduces, and he kind of just looked at me, and I was like, what's up? He said, do you know who this is? I said, nope. He said, this is Brandon Polinick. And he said, dude, how is it going? He just wanted to sit there and just talk and talk and talk. Yeah. So we sat there for about right at an hour at the Buck Knives booth. And I was just like, so when I left him, we swapped Instagram names. I sent him mine and I pulled him up. When I looked at him, I was kind of like, yeah, he is somebody.
He is somebody. Big old. Yeah, old boy came on strong the past few years.
Yeah,
he did. He getting the boys on the saltwater every now and then.
yeah. I noticed. Who was that? B-Lat. I can't. Z-Man. Z-Man does a lot with saltwater. I see that they're pushing them out there a lot. Seaguar brings a lot of their guys. Saltwater fishing. Yeah. I see him trying to transition a little bit. Y'all need to stay freshwater, leave saltwater alone.
Leave salt. Hey, but what speaking of transitioning from fresh and salt or back and forth, vice versa, you got any tips or tactics that can help some of the new anglers out there transitioning back and forth,
Lord. It was so much easier to talk about saltwater because there's just so much going on with freshwater.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I guess year round, if you're trout fishing, if you're red fishing, if you haven't made the investment, get you some optics, not optics, but get you something where you can check out your structure. Because I'm a structure fisherman. Yes. I am a structure fisherman. If I can't see rocks, if I can't find my ledges, if I can't find old busted up piers, if I'm just looking at water, get you something where you can do some side views, some side scan, and find structure and fish it, and then slow down in saltwater. I'm a power fisherman. I'm about 65. Power fishing in freshwater. But when it gets to saltwater, for me, unless it's hot summer and I'm sight fishing, I have slow down and I basically go from bait casters to strictly spinning combo. I'll put down the Abu gear and I'll pick up the pin gear, and I'll slow down, and I pick up spinning gear specifically to make myself slow down. So when I find my structure, I'll look for them. I'll see if they're on the bottom. I'll see if they're subsurface. I'll see if they're on the surface. And that's generally what how I'm able to make that transition. Make sure that you pay attention to where the fish are, what that typical forage is, we're based off of that area.
Yes.
And try to mimic it as best as possible. I know you probably that's probably the most generic or most basic, but that's how it's for me. Yeah.
Definitely. I know one thing common pretty much everywhere is even if it's wind driven or tidal influence is current and current breaks and eddies. Yeah. And tidal movement does play a factor pretty much everywhere I fished in coastal inshore estuaries. Even if it's wind driven, it does help, Yeah.
That's figured out with flounder this year. Flounder have always eluded me. I've been lucky. I'm not even gonna lie to you, putting my pride aside. 95% of the time I caught flounder from last year back has all been straight up pure luck. I've always been amazed by flounder and trying to figure them out. I finally got on a pattern. And when I got to it, I swore to myself I could care less about freshwater until I figure these flounder out. And just like you said, I had to find a drop off. I had to find current. If the current wasn't moving, they weren't biting. And I had to let the current do all the movement for me as far as the bait goes. And of all things, I started catching my flounder on. I don't know if you saw it or not this past year, but of all things I was catching my flounder on, it was on a coffee tube. Of all things. I hear people talking about curly tail grubs. I hear people talking about using fresh bait. The old man that tried to teach me years ago, he was using these big menhaden and big mud minnows, and he would do that 10-second countdown. He would open. I would watch him. I'm sitting there mimicking everything he's doing, fishing live bait. I couldn't figure him out, and I finally got on the pattern where I was catching reds, and I kept getting this weird bite, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
Spongy.
Pulled a couple of flatties in. Yeah. Pulled a couple of flatties in, man. And I stayed on those fish for about 4 months straight. That's all I cared about was flounder. And I figured out a pattern on them. So I'm waiting on that time to roll back around again to duplicate it. And I know they're offshore and I know they're deep right now. And I'm waiting on them to come back in. I don't want to go too far.
Yeah, I'm waiting to come back in too. I like when they start, we get that big push in November, December. They drop our limit to 2 fish. We only keep 2, and that's when they're running and going offshore. So they're just so easy to catch then. But most of the time, you're finding depressions in marsh drains, little small ditch-like creeks that are coming out at low tide. They'll be sitting right outside that, waiting on them bait fish to get flushed out. This will be sitting down in a depression out there, and then you'll just let that current just ease that bait out. I don't even twitch it. I just let it come out with the current and just keep just a little bit of tension on my line and let it bounce off the bottom. Bank, and you'll feel it stop. And then all of a sudden you'll feel it moving just a little bit, and you keep tension on it, and you'll feel them smack it again, and set the hook.
That's turning that bait around in their mouth. They get it head on, turn it around. Yeah, I had to, because I know I was on them, but I wasn't patient enough for it. That's another reason why I started fishing spinning combos, because it just, for some reason, I pick up a spinning rod, it makes me slow down. I can't produce power fishing techniques with spinning combos. So but no, that would be me, man. I find those little entries, find current coming in, and I just let the current do the work. But I found these on a flat, and typical area down here in South Mississippi. A lot of people know about it, and it's the funniest thing, man. I got it on video so many times. I'll be hooked up with the flatty coming in, and there'll be boats coming through, and they'll come off plane, and they'll sit there and watch me, and I've got a fish on, and I got my rod set down in the water. I'm just looking at them. Y'all going by.
Going by. Hey, that's how it is here in some of our rivers, our coastal rivers. They're like, you'll be on a stretch of bank, it'll be 50 yards, and that's where them fish will be at. And then 100 yards down the bank, them guys they're not catching anything. And then you got a guy riding by you, and then you're like setting the hook, and you're like, they slow it down, you're like, put it down in the water, reel them in real slow. Oh yeah, I'm just hung up on the stump.
On me, I could literally underhand a bait to him, a weightless bait. I could underhand him a bait. That's how close he pulled up on me. He sat there and watched me pull in a couple of fish. He's within 20 yards of me, and casting in the same exact spot. I don't get into it with people on the water. If you mess up my spot, you mess up my spot. I just pick up and go. Plus, I'm in a kayak here, and you got a 250 behind you, so there's no So he pulls up. He's literally about 100 casts in. I picked up 3 fish since he's been there, and he just looks at me. Finally says, "What are you using?" I told him, I said, "I got a soda can over here. I'm dipping my baits in a Coca-Cola, and then I'm throwing it out." So he's over here looking at his cooler.
Yeah,
he couldn't find it.
You know they like that Coca-Cola, huh?
Yeah, I wasn't giving him anything.
Man, yeah, that's the ones you don't share nothing with. They come up on you like
No.
Yeah, that's you can tell people where fish are at, and you can show them, but they still have to catch them. They still got to have the right presentation, the right cadence on that lure retrieve, find the fish, present that bait the right way to catch them, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were chatting before we started recording, and you know, we talk about, you know, this time of year for me is when I like to target, you know, try to find those bigger speckled trout, and it seems like we're kind of fishing the kind of same areas, you know, with deeper drop-offs and ledges and some channels and everything. So how's that doing this year, y'all, with these cooler temperatures? The fish are holding in some deeper water with structure?
Yeah, they've been holding on structure. I've been fishing about 10 foot of water, and I've got these big rocks that hold up about 4 feet, 5 feet in the surface, and they'll be sitting right behind them. You know, they're ambush predators.
Yes.
The problem is you're going to go through some tackle, man. You can be anchored up, and about every 4 or 5 casts, you're having to go out and pick up your lure because you got these big rocks that'll come up, and these big trout will literally sit between these rocks and just let the current push over those. Everything. So they've been doing really well. I've just been, my last 2 trips, I did pretty well on my last trip. I picked up, I think my biggest one was 23, but I was trying to, you know, eventually get topped off. I got a few more months of cold temp, but that last one, man, it just rocked my world. I pulled up, I had the wrong wheels on my cart, had to drag that sucker through the sand. The tides pushed. So I had to drag the kayak through about 60 yards and just 2-3 inches of water.
Which kayak did you have, the Mayfly or Coosa FD?
I actually had the FD. I had the FD because I had to put about 3 or 4 miles in, and I had wind. So I had the FD pushing it, and it was work just getting to the water. So by the time I got to the water, I'm like, these fish better bite in the next hour. So I'm turning around, I'm going to the house.
Yeah. That's how it is. That big rig FD, man. If I don't have them sand tires, I keep them on the sand tracks on that C-Tug. And if I got a long ramp, it's like, okay, I might back up with the truck or whatever. But I've been in the Kilroy HD ever since I brought that one back from Florida. Man, that is a sweet boat.
I can't figure out which one I like better, either the Mayfly or the Liska. The FD, don't get me wrong, it's definitely a workhorse, man. She's a tank. She's very sturdy. Mm-hmm. But as far as my personal preference, I can't figure out which one. If I like the big brother or the little brother, man, the Liska or the Mayfly.
I have a Liska too, but I find myself, if it's not pouring down rain, I'm in that Kilroy HD. It paddles circles around that Liska.
Really?
Yes.
I'm gonna have to try that out.
I did 9 miles in a redfish tournament in that thing, like no problem. Really? And there was wind that day too. That thing's a paddling beast, man. And you got plenty of room, tackle. You got that enclosed area to measure your fish, and they ain't flopping out off the side. Man, I'm like in awe of that kayak. The original Kilroy was really cool. You know, you gotta have added weight with this one, but the way it paddles, the flow of it, man, is just awesome. I'm really digging on that one.
Yeah.
So but man, wintertime trout. That's one of my favorite things. I mean, I love topwater. I love the springtime topwater bite. But right now, you know, in wintertime fish, a little deeper water, you might have to go to a 1/4 ounce jig head sometimes, and that little swim bait, little paddle tail, little gambler flapping shad or Kaden, little, you know, shad imitation, corky fat boys. You know, we're lucky around here. We get some companies to get some custom colors made so them fish don't see them, or you get somebody to paint them for you, dip them. make them your own, customize them, bend them up. Man, that thump on them things is fun.
I've seen a couple of companies that are doing their own versions of Corkies and Fat Boys. I can't remember the name of them, but they look darn near similar. I hadn't fished them, but I've seen a couple of different. I won't say knockoffs, but I've seen a couple of them that look just like them. But,
I need to send you some of the ones over here that my buddy gets made at for Waterloo, who has his custom ones done, and they got some pretty cool colors that is just not normal. They're not the normal. He got some solid ones. He got some floaters. He's got some. There's some crazy colors. Toxic Tide. There's one called Pistachio. There's one called Pearl Harbor. There's like a gold one with bone and chartreuse on the little gill area. Yeah. They look good. There's one called Texas Turnip. It's like a light pink with a purple back with chartreuse underneath it. Man, that one, I got one of them. It's just like all just serrated, just ripped up. So many fish I caught on that one, man. And then there's another guy at Coastal Marsh that paints some really cool looking ones, like toucan. It's like pink and lime green, and he's got like a purple one with spots, and high cotton is another color. It's like pink with black. It's got little dots on it. Look like a little speckled trout. That one looks real good. They got some stuff, man. I'm gonna have to send you some of them. And they do the colors on the soft dye and XL too, the little twitch bait. They make the XL version of the soft dye, and I've caught a lot of fish on that this year, just twitching it back with them the wind breaks off the reefs, the little drop offs and little ambush points, like you said. Trout, they're opportunistic feeders, and they're gonna sit and wait. And if the chance comes by, if they're just sitting there in that eddy out of that current, just sitting there, and something floats by them, they're gonna pop it, dude. They're gonna get it.
I had a fairly expensive combo in my hand, and I'm sitting here fishing. I hadn't had a bite in about 3 hours, and all of a sudden that big 23-incher just come up and just inhaled it and snatched the rod out my hand. If I had my GoPro, man, I promise you, I've juggled with that rod for about flipped my kayak trying to catch that rod. You're sitting here, you're just making your cadence in the tree, and then boom, and I'm over here.
Yeah. Oh, I've had one ripped out of my hand, period, and it's gone. And all you see is a bubble trail behind it. It's gone. And I was in like 17 foot of water. I wasn't finding that rod. There it goes down the drain. Just gone.
Pulling it. I try my best. I've actually had rods snatched out of the kayak before that weren't tethered off, and I knew that I had about 20 or 30 yards of line out. So I'm like, all right, mark here, get over here, and just start dragging, see if I can catch that line out. I'm actually good at bringing them back up, but I've lost some gear too.
It hurts your feelings when that happens. That's one time I had it, and then it was just like, man, I said, I don't know what it was, a big jack or something. That rod like shot, it was like a rocket, and it was just like bubble trail. It's like, and it was going. It's like, I'm not finding that one. I cast and cast and cast, and nope. That thing was gone. It was gone. It was one of them little special blanks too that had one of my good little short. It had a little stubby handle on it, so getting your way on the kayak, and it was a 6.9. It had light little fast tip, and like had some backbone. Man, that's one of my favorite rods too, and it's gone. Bye bye. So as far as swapping over from freshwater to saltwater, I have separate rods. I have totally different rods for bass fishing, and that's what I was wanting to touch on. I want you to get your input on this too, is that you don't just go out with a flipping stick and go start throwing corkies or something like that. You got to have a little fast tip on them. You get that little twitch action. Same thing with topwater. So you have the same thing yourself. You have a separate arsenal for your saltwater adventures.
If when I transition from fresh to salt, I have specific reels I'll use. I have specific rods I'll use. If I'm fishing anything from an 1/8 ounce or shallow or smaller, I got a medium. I like a light action rod. I'm fishing a medium light rod with a little bit of a backbone on it, fast tip, like I said. And if I'm fishing those twitch baits or suspended or top waters, it's got to have a fast tip, but she's also got to have some backbone on it.
Yeah.
Because we've got big reds that come through and just
annihilate.
They'll tear it up, and then you got the jacks that come through as well.
Yeah. Same here.
I don't know if you remember. Yeah, I don't know if you remember or not. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. I posted a Facebook Live video. It did pretty well, but I was in the bayou and I can't even remember how much she weighed. I didn't have scales on me, but that sucker was the biggest black drum I've ever seen in my life. That sucker had me worn out. I caught it on an 1/8 ounce jig, 12-pound test, and a medium light rod.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm a firm believer, man. If I can go light, I go light.
Yeah.
I like the challenge. You know, if I'm not fishing a tournament, there's no money on the line, if I'm out just, you know, enjoying the sport, I go light. And I enjoy the fight a lot more. And I don't know why. I'm just drawn to that lighter action.
Yeah.
Light as I can possibly go, I'll go. I even when I went to New York for the first time traveling, the guys told me, they said, you're going to need 8, 6, you know, you're going to need some really, really, really thin diameter line. And I'm thinking, I've never in my life tied on 8-pound fluorocarbon.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
But you want that to be my main spool. And believe it or not, man, it's actually completely changed the way that I fish. Just for that one trip to New York, completely changed the way that I fish. I'm catching lake trout, walleye, smallmouth on 8 and 6-pound tests, and I'm thinking, all right, these fish are pulling. They're pulling hard. I don't know why I can't do this with redfish and trout back home.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I go light as I can.
I go light as I can, but I definitely like my braid for sensitivity, especially when you're fishing the little deeper water. You know, I do tie, you know, a good 24, 30-inch piece of fluorocarbon with the FG knot, so it goes through the guides a lot easier. You can get cast and everything. And I use a loop knot a lot, especially on the corkies or your twitch baits. You got to have a loop knot to get that action of that. I mean, there's really no wrong way to work a corky or a twitch bait. You can do whatever you want. Just pause it. You just let it sink and just reel every now and then, or you can twitch it twice. You can twitch it 5 times and stop, or you can just twitch it like you're working a top water. You count it down a couple seconds and just twitch it mid-column, you know. There's no wrong way.
I put Seaguar Smackdown on them, whether it's 15-pound, 20-pound. All of my spinning combos, everything has braid on it.
Yeah.
Very rarely will I ever put just straight fluorocarbon on a spinning combo, but I have braid, and just like you said, depending on if I'm patient enough for an FG knot, I might go to a uni to uni.
Yeah, sometimes on the water I do one of them, or an Alberto knot or whatever, surgeon knot, or one of them quick ones where you pull it through.
Make the job happen. It's a little sloppy, but you're still in the action.
Yeah,
but
if I'm at the house pre-rigging, I'm gonna do a really good FG knot with probably like 20 wraps and get it all perfect. And then if it breaks off on the water, I ain't retying that.
Unless the fish is already slow and you're in a transitional stage. But no, if I'm on the water, it's going to be a uni to uni.
You take multiple rods when you're out with different baits, or you retie?
No, I can't stand retying. I bring, if I'm freshwater fishing, I'll have up to 8 rods with me. If I'm saltwater fishing, I have no less than 4. But man, I've heard everything from Star Trek Enterprise. I've heard all kind of.
I hear it too, because I'll have a twitch bait, I'll have a soft plastic, I'll have a bigger profile swim bait, and I'll have a top water, and then I'll have a spinning reel with a popping cork and a gulp. If the redfish get stupid sometimes, and you got to call them in, so that's 5 normally.
I keep my numbers even. I don't know why. If I have 3 on this side, I've got to have 3 on the other side.
Yeah. And every now and then I'll have them spoons too. We got a company here that makes a acrylic resin poured spoon, and it's got rattle chamber in it. It's called Nacho Daddy. Oh, for the flats, them things are money, dude. Nacho Daddy spoons. Yeah, them things are good. And they, it's not like a metal spoon where it just sinks so fast. These right here, you twitch them and they flutter. And you twitch and they like flutter down. Man, they got a good action to them. Them reds like to eat them. So I'll have that. Sometimes I'll have a spinning rod with that got sitting down on my deck, on my seat out in front of me, and I'll be working the topwater, and so they'll be short striking. I'll drop that rod, I'll pick that spoon up and firing it in there and catch them and back up, Same thing when you're frog fishing with a Senko, the same concept with a redfish. And hey, this past year, late summer, early fall, I was busting redfish with the frogs in the backwater.
Yeah.
They was tearing it up.
I found it. I love transition freshwater baits to saltwater fishing techniques, and I was busting reds on, believe it or not, the square bills, striking square bills.
Yep.
They'll destroy the hooks, but it's fun catching.
You got to upgrade, get some Gamakatsu or VMC 4X. Yeah, get the bigger ones. Yeah, I like to change mine. The wake baits. This guy Salty Plugger who he paints a bunch of custom topwaters for me and does real good looking stuff. And he does some really good looking square bills and really good looking wake baits.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of getting the right hooks on them things. I like anything. If I buy the Super Spook Junior or the One Knocker Spooks, I take them factory hooks off and I change them right away. I've lost too many fish earlier. If that's a good tip for new people too, if you got the time, you got to spend a little extra money, change them sock hooks out.
Man, I don't know if it's just me or not, but when the wife goes to bed, boys are down asleep, the morning before I go out, I take a couple hours of just quiet time. And whether I get an hour of sleep, I'd rather sit there and pay attention to my gear, because that's the difference between me putting fish in the box or, making a show happen. So I'm all about that. Change the hooks out, retie your leaders, make sure everything's good and working right. Yeah.
Take care of your reels. We're in a kayak. We're that much closer to the water. We're getting a lot more salt water splash, a more corrosive environment. So, just lightly mist your reels off, take care of them. You got a brake system. You should really take a Q-tip out, like put some of that cleanse oil or lube on that little surface in there, that little brass surface it rubs on. Take care of your bearings, clean them. It's part of the deal. You take care of your gear.
I gave a buddy of mine a fairly expensive combo for his birthday, and all he had was negative to say about this combo. I said, man, I've been using that particular combo for years, man. Same model, same everything.
Mm-hmm.
Never had an issue with it. And I roll up on him one day, he's fishing, he's got his stuff in the back of the truck, and I see the corrosion and everything. I said, man, when's the last time you washed this? When's the last time you did anything to it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't take care of him. I said, there you go, right there.
There you go. There's the problem right there. There's the problem right there. Well, you just touched on, getting some quiet time, when you got the boys down, you got the family. So I know I find it, I struggle sometimes. So how's it for you juggling your family and the fishing? How's that for you?
I've had to figure out what I want to sacrifice more. Sometimes I miss out on some pretty pivotal points in both aspects of life, the fishing side and my boy's life. But it is a juggle. It is a juggle. I remember the first 11-day trip I had to take. This is before my second boy, Nathan, was born. My oldest boy, he'll be 5 in March. That boy called me he was 6 hours into a 23-hour drive. And it's my first night being away from him. That boy called me up, said, Daddy, you coming home? I said, I called my wife. She got on the phone. I said, don't let me talk to him anymore this whole trip. I said, I couldn't even keep my eyes straight, man.
I know.
Had me falling. But no, I missed a lot of time traveling. I got a flight here, I got to drive there, it's show here, tournament here. It's just like anybody else that spends time on the road. You're going to miss a lot. You got to factor out what's really important, what's going to benefit you, the business. Yeah. And it may be fun, it may be an awesome opportunity, but you got to figure out which one's more important. And I've had to figure that out over the past couple of years with my sons, my wife. Like this year, I'm going to miss my wife's birthday and anniversary, our 8-year anniversary. I'm going to miss that. But she and I, we're to the point now where we understand, she started her own business. I've got my business going. Those are dates. We'll make them up. When I get back on the flip side, we'll definitely make it up. But yeah, that's something I've had to put out. If it's, say for instance, my son's birthday is March 5th. All right, son, Daddy's not gonna be home till March 7th.
Mm-hmm.
That whole next week, it's all your weekend.
All you. Yeah.
Yeah. So that he understands when Daddy, he sees Daddy packing bags, he knows Daddy's gonna be gone for a while.
Yeah.
My youngest boy, he's only 2, so he doesn't really get it. He follows his brother's lead. But yeah, it is a juggle, man, and it was hard. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely hard leaving them at the house, but once you have that goal in mind and you have a support system,
yeah,
it's
what I say. It's good to have a good support system behind you too, because that takes you that worry and that anxieties and stuff can set in sometimes. Especially if you're going to fish a tournament situation or something like that. You got to be on that mental game. So it's good to have support. Yeah, it's my daughter's birthday this weekend, so I say I'm on night shifts, but her birthday's at like 1 in the afternoon, so I'll be waking up and we'll go have a party and get her stuff done. And it's like, because I know next Tuesday when I wake up, I'm getting on the road. I'll be gone for 5 days. So it's like, you got to spend that time when you can. Take her lunch. I took her lunch to school yesterday. You got to make up. You got to make up. When you are around too, because there is going to be times, being as passionate about the fishing as I am and you are, you do sometimes miss out on some stuff, and it's not the fact that I want to miss out on it, it does hit me, it does.
Yeah.
It's a juggle, just like you said. It can catch you off guard sometimes. You're like, man, I really need to be home for this, and it it catches you sometimes. It's like a check, boom, it checks you.
I remember that trip to North Carolina. I don't know if you saw that trip. That's probably my most memorable.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was wanting to touch on. What's your most memorable time on the water? In the kayak. I know you had that big trip to North Carolina was with the Outdoor Life Network, right?
So I was an ambassador. Yeah, I was an ambassador for the outdoor group, doing some work for different sponsors. We had Seaguard, Jackson, Wiley X, Mammoth Coolers, Cuda Tools. We had all this. A big deal. I talked to the captain of the boat, that was taking us out, mothership and me. I said, listen, man, I can get a film crew involved. Brought a film crew out. We made it all happen, and I'm out there 55 miles off the North Carolina coast. God knows what's swimming up under me. He's telling me about these big tiger sharks in the area. I'm puckered up the whole time I'm in the water, but I'm thinking, I'm reminding myself I'm out here for a reason. I'm in my element.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that king mackerel or not, but that whole time, even though I'm mic'd up, I've got cameras on me, I've got my GoPro on me, I'm mic'd up. I'm talking to God the whole time. I'm thinking about my babies the whole time. I'm thinking about my wife. I'm out here in the kayak. I'm doing this right now, but this is for all of us. This is for a better life for all of us. And I'm thinking about right now. I'm looking at my desktop with my 2 boys. I'll show this one to you. I'm looking at my desktop with my 2 boys.
Oh yeah, little handsome fellas right there, man.
Thank you.
They must take after their mama.
I don't know where they get it.
Where they get it? I'm joking, man. Come on.
Nah, I know.
I know.
Yeah. No, that most memorable, and I cherish it because that was my most memorable fishing moment. But that's even though I was hours away from my family, I felt like, doing this for them, putting in the time, the work, knowing that I have their support. My sons don't even know where I'm at, but they're excited to see me go out and do something that I love doing.
Yeah. Oh,
that's probably memorable there. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. How about that? Speaking of being way offshore, is old Adam Fisk, one of our teammates, with another Marlin yesterday, down at Los Buzos. We need to get one of them trips together with
yeah, we do. I was talking about
a bigger group, some Jackson and some other fellas. We all get together.
I mentioned it to Ivy a couple of times. I need to get down there and make that trip happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, hats off to him, man. I've been hooked up for some sleigh rides, nothing like that, and I'm looking forward to it. As long as I still have air in my lungs, I'm going to do that. I'm going to pull that off. But,
man, I know Yeah, that's crazy. They got some good stuff going on down there. They got it down. They got a routine. They got, man, it's just such a great fishery they have down there too. So it's like, man, you can pretty much go down there and slay them. You know, all them breaking records left and right.
Yeah, Kubera.
Yeah.
Rooster.
The big rooster fish, the broomtail grouper, the big corvinas. Man, you name it, they've been slaughtering them, man. They've been, you know, and you eat good when you're down there too. I told them, hey man, I'll trade some time in the kitchen for a discount. I'll teach some. I know y'all got a good chef down there, but I could teach her some new stuff.
Yeah.
trade it out.
A Wahoo blackfin trip that we're trying to plan out now. The same group that we did that king mackerel trip with. I've got a Wahoo and blackfin trip that we're putting some deals on now. So that'll be my next offshore experience.
That's this year coming up 2020. Any tournaments or anything, or you just got mainly just promotional trips going on this year?
Mainly, I had 4 tournament trails I was actually going to follow, but I wanted to back up, punt, and change direction. So I'm mainly going to be production this year. I'll fish some tournaments, but you won't see me in contention for Angler of the Year or anything like that. But I'll enjoy a few of them just to be able to fish them, get out and when I have some free time between.
Yeah, I like the little the KBF monthly redfish challenges and all that stuff. I wish the championship would have been so late in the year, because I would have went and fished that. That's close to some stuff that I knew from back in the day in Florida. And then IFA is fun because it breaks it up, because it's one redfish, one trout, and then they got their Texas schedule has my home waters on the schedule this year for Port Lavaca, Texas. That's the first event of the year. It's to be determined on the date, but that's my home water. That's where I fished this morning. So I'm like stoked about that. I'm really stoked about that area. So I'm looking forward to this year. This is a big year, man. It's a big year coming up.
Oh yeah. You keep it all for the right reasons, man. You don't let the distractions from everybody else's downfalls affect you, and you keep the big picture and foresight and keep God first in it, man.
Yes, sir.
It should happen.
Oh yeah, I'm good with like just writing articles and putting out some good content every now and then. I don't even have to fish tournaments. I mean, I've just always been competitive in nature, though, so and then the people you meet a lot of cool people. The camaraderie is one of the big draw, in the tournament scene on the kayak side. You see a lot of stuff, a lot of tips given away, a lot of people talking after the tournament. You don't see that in the boat world. You don't see that on the boat side like that. So, man, getting to wrapping up here, man. We been rolling right along. Just end of this segment here. We want to give you a chance to shout out to anybody, give thanks, sponsors, family, anything like that. The stage is yours, brother.
First and foremost, I of course thank God for every opportunity. Thank my wife for her support. My kids, they're backing me. The Outdoor Channel, the Sportsman Group, they've been a major part and success for me the past year and a half. Force Jackson Kayak has been backing me for years now. Check out my socials. You'll see the companies that I rep, man. Everybody that I've been with has been more than supportive, more than helpful. PowerPole has been, believe it or not, amazing. PowerPole has been an amazing company to work with. My 4-year-old just came in here a minute ago. They understand when daddy's working.
Yeah.
The support from sponsors, from family, friends in the industry. Shout out to everybody, not one specific group or person, man, but everybody that I'm affiliated with, associated with. If you're watching this, I appreciate all the support from the years. Looking forward to the continued years and the continued growth of our sport.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks for joining me tonight. Thanks for everybody. If you tune in, listen, give us a like, give us a tap, give us a review, help us out, be heard through all these podcast platforms we're available on. And thanks for tuning in tonight. See y'all next time.
Go check out the website, guys. paddle_fin.com. Also check out YouTube. youtube.com/paddleandfin. If you got a question, comment, or want to hear from a future guest, feel free to email us at paddle_n_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media, giveaways, announcements, things like that at Facebook and Instagram at Paddle and Fin. Shout out to our show supporters, Rocktown Adventures, Loveland Canoe and Kayak, Hammered Lures, Fish Mob Lures, TRC Covers, Ketch Products. Go to KetchProducts.com. You can put the Paddle and Fin logo right on your catch board. Don't forget to go over and pick up your JigMasters Jigs. Use promo code PNF20 and save 20% today. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps grow the audience, helps others find our podcast. So please drop a 5-star rating in on the podcast platform you're listening on. Don't forget about the recycled plastics program, you guys. Take your used plastic baits, put them in an envelope, mail them to the address in the show notes. Our man Eric Richards at Hammered Lures melts those down, makes new baits, and donates them to various chapters of Heroes on the Water.